So this is the first piece of art for Apocalypse Mouse, and this is Tiko the mouse. And I remember in November of 2022, um, I had some art supplies laying around, some markers that somebody had donated to me, a friend of mine, Roy, who um, he gave me 320 Ohuhu alcohol markers. And I had never done anything with alcohol markers. I normally do watercolor or paint or pencil, and I love doing lining over the top of my work. So I gave it a go. I tested it out, and my reference photo for this particular piece comes from this book, which I had read to my children. I really liked her strong stance, but I was just thinking if I modernize it, what it would look like. This comes from Mouse Guard by David Peterson. So really cool series. So I was very inspired by it. I wanted to draw a mouse that was kind of more modern. I was thinking he had a little bed clasp. My kids always keep breaking these off their bunk beds. And I thought he had maybe a little bed clasp that he had turned into a little bit of a weapon or a wrench, and mouse-sized food. And so I was this is the first piece, and then I started doing more pieces. This one was mice that were in the trash heap, just kind of collecting things. I had this homage to the Statue of Liberty in the background, that maybe the world had kind of collapsed. An NYC brochure. I knew early on that there was a tragedy that had taken place, and this was kind of seen in this picture where a bit of an apocalypse had occurred, maybe a nuclear bomb or a nuclear event, and what happened with the mice. And then I went from there to what could housing look like in a world filled with mice. And I thought they would do something with cardboard. Here you have a mouse looking out over a balcony. You have this like little walkway up, and you have dandelions growing in the front yard. So this was kind of my thought process. And then as a population grows, you've got to have your antagonist. And this was Future BioCare Today. So the BioCare, which was a corporation that the mice kind knew, that were all the genetically enhanced mice. And so then you have here Gino, who is a mouse that gets introduced pretty early on as being our antagonist. And then because of his society, you have things like BioCare Future Today, with mice walking around with gas masks. Part of what we are calling the Black Bag Gang. These guys are on a coffee break. And then I kind of precluded my series in December of 2022 with a little bit of a Christmas card-esque thing. Mice gathering around a pretty barren tree. And I just got this idea of, can I tell this story in this world? And so my kids began asking me questions, because these pictures were up on my kind of bookshelf. And they began asking me questions. Hey, Dad, what's the story behind this guy? What's his name? And who are they? And why is there a bomb that went off? And so we got to start having some kind of conversations centered around what could happen in apocalypse, and how does community rebuild, and how do people find each other? Well, mice find each other in the midst of what could be a world-ending event. And how can society be reborn? And what does society look like when it's reborn? And so Apocalypse Mouse asks a lot of these questions, and I have the mice going through that. The book is 212 pages. There is about 70 pictures like this where they're full page. And then amongst the writing and at the top of chapters, there is another probably 130 drawings, if not more. So I think we're closing in on 200 something pieces of art that I've done for Apocalypse Mouse. The book sits at 212 pages and is over 35,000 words written and edited. And it's been a really fun story. So I got to tell my kids these stories that have come out of this book. And it's a full interlinking story about who Tiko is, the society that Tiko builds, and the adventures of Tiko, as much as firsthand experience as we can get. So the drawing process has been really fun.
Most of my process starts with me just putting on some lines really quickly. I don't like to take very long drawing. This particular piece that I'm drawing here is for a place called Bago's Market, which is a place that Tiko ends up exploring about 50% through the book. And he uncovers another society that exists beyond their own. And he's here in this marketplace looking for some information about something that we won't go into. But yeah, here's a little market stall. And I wasn't sure when I first started what it was all going to be. I just kind of had an idea for the shape in my mind. Most of the mice buildings are made out of cardboard or some sort of like repurposed plastic parts of a milk jug or pots. But mice don't have to worry about too much of the structure of their buildings unless they decide to build really tall, because mice aren't very heavy. So this little lean-to shack style market stall has a chimney in the back. I think I decided that she makes bread. That's why her name is Fern's Fresh. She makes fresh bread daily, and then also has like herbs and berries and stuff that she either trades for or grows. Here's a little mouseling looking up at what I think ended up being some onions. And he's pointing at him. He wants some onions. And yeah, for the pencil strokes, I just put them down really quickly. And then I go back over with a micron pen to lock in exactly my outline. I like to get to coloring as quickly as possible. And a piece like this will take about 30 minutes. Now, if I was doing one of those full page illustrations, those take between 2 and 5 hours, just depending on the level of detail that I'm looking for, or even getting lost in the narrative of what the piece is trying to tell. And for those pieces, I have something in mind normally. But this is a fun little piece that's going to fit inside of the text block. So I have full page pieces. So here I'm going to go back in, and the one bad thing about the Uhu markers, which are alcohol based, is that they pick up lead or graphite and they smudge it. So it looks really smudged. So I had forgotten to erase, and I even forgot there to erase my lines between Fern's Fresh, but you'll see that later. Most of my mice are gray or tan or brown or something in the mixture of that. I have, and they all stand on their back legs. They all have kind of some humanistic characteristics to them, and I'm just kind of showing that even the entire society starts being a little abnormal when they are confronted with Tiko and the other lab mice. So their construction is made out of cardboard, and here's me going in with several different browns and grays and trying to build up some texture. The city that Tiko is visiting is actually up inside of a ceiling duct, and so they are sitting on top of ceiling tiles. So I'm showing the cracks of the ceiling tile that kind of warped and tore because of the heat of the nuclear situation that my story centers around. So yeah, I'm not a traditional artist. I was taught by my mom when I was in high school how to do some art, and I just kept going. I love watercolor, so Alcohol markers wasn't really a medium that I was even aware of until a friend of mine gave me some markers back in 2022. I used to use pencils, and I still do. I still draw with pencils and watercolor. In fact, a lot of the pieces that I do that are in the text blocks are watercolor paintings. I really do enjoy art and telling a story. Here I am using a gel pen, a white gel pen, to kind of scratch out or scratch back some of the white spaces. I unfortunately got a little bit too aggressive with that coffee cup, so I had to put the coffee cup back. Doing a little bit of extra detail work with hatching, and then coloring in her shaw. Adding some background color because I need it to pop a little bit, even though it's sitting in the text block. And then a chimney. I think I ended up deciding that she cooked bread. And this is Ferns Fresh. Thanks for watching. Please click the link in the description or in the top comment to go out to the Kickstarter page. And please click the link, Notify Me, so that when the Kickstarter goes live May 1st, you could be one of the first ones to back this project. Bye for now.